Hi, welcome to episode 2 of this app development tutorial series. In this episode, we're going to populate the grid view we made with an image adapter. First, we're going to download the placeholder image. This is what it looks like. This is what will show up to the user if the image takes time to load. And in most cases, the user won't even see this, but in some cases, just in case. And we want to move that image to app, source main resources, and we want to put in the drawable directory. Let's go to Android Studio. What we want to do is go to the manifest and allow some permissions. We want our app to be able to access the internet and access a network state. It's one permission. And the reason we have these permissions is because it's a good way to spot out apps that are sort of scammy or not legitimate. Like, nothing says that an app is trying to hack your phone more than an app that lists permissions for every single thing. You only want to use the permissions that you need. There we go. And then we're going to go to the Gradle build.gradle file. And we're going to add the Picasso library to the app. Now we're going to head over to main activity. And the first thing we want to do in main activity is check if the device is a tablet. So we'll create a static boolean and this method will just check if the device is a tablet or a phone. And here in onCreate, we'll just set the tablet variable, boolean, to whether the device is a tablet. Alright, let's head over to movies fragment.java. First we want to get the width of the phone or tablet. And we'll see why in a second. It's my little sister playing with the dog in the background. Oh, let's make some variables at the top here. Let's create some references. So this width is going to be the width of the poster. So you remember on the tablet view, half of the screen was on the tablet view, half of the screen was the main activity and the other half was the details activity. And on the phone, each activity had its own entire screen. So if the device is a tablet, we want the width of each poster to be 1/6 the size of the screen, of the width. And if it's on a phone, we want it to be 1/3. We want 3 posters in every row. So what we're trying to do is populate the grid view with 3 posters per row. You can make this any number you want. It could be 5 posters in a row, 10 posters a row, or 2. But that's what this width variable does. So we're going to use a custom image adapter, and I haven't made the class yet, but we'll do that after we go through this class. Now if you're populating the grid view with text, or if you're populating it with a list view instead, let's say with text, you could just use an array adapter, which is already built into the Java library. But we're going to make a custom image adapter that extends base adapter because we want to use images. Now we're going to fetch that grid view that we made here in fragment main. Going to bring it into our Java code. So remember we got the width earlier, and we want 3 posters. Since we're going to be testing this on a phone first, we want 3 posters per row. So the width will be 1/3 the row. Perfect, this will check. Here, let's just add something. To test when we click on items in the grid view. This will listen for presses on grid view items. And we'll print out the position we pressed when we test this. Now we're going to override onStart. And for now, we're just going to set the title to most popular movies. Later, we'll have an option to change that from most popular movies to highest rated to favorites. And now, here's something interesting. We're going to check if a network is available before attempting to do anything. So let's make the isNetworkAvailable method. And this method will just check if a network is available. Remember those permissions we made earlier? Those permissions we added earlier to the manifest? This is why we need them, to check this. Alright, so if the network is available, we're going to execute a new image load task, which will be a new class that extends async task that you can't have. Because networking takes time, because it takes time to load images from the internet or any other place, they won't be done. You cannot do them on the main thread because you don't want the entire app to pause while these images are being loaded. So we create a background thread that extends async task, and in that thread we will load the images. So we'll create this class in a second. But right here, if the network is available, we'll try to load the images from the internet in a new thread. And if not, we just want to create a display message that tells the user that there is no internet connection. And we're going to give our relative layout this ID. Because notice how this is red right now? Well, we're going to give this the ID so it's not red. There we go. So we're going to add this new text view that says you are not connected to the internet, and we're going to make the grid view invisible. What is it called again? Oh, it's just visible. Okay. So let's create our image load task. It's going to be a class within this class. Void, the first parameter is what's being passed into it. And the last parameter is what's going to be returned from it. So now we need to implement the abstract method, implement methods. Okay, that was easy. And this method returns the last parameter here, which is ArrayList string. And this is going to be a string of the poster paths for the images of each poster. Every poster has a path on the internet. And this string is going to hold, this ArrayList is going to hold strings of each of the poster paths. Put this in a try catch. And then if an exception is thrown, we're actually going to continue this infinite loop. Otherwise, if the get paths from API method is executed successfully, we're just going to return posters as the string array list. Now let's make the get paths from API method. This will return a string array of the paths for the posters. So for this episode, we're going to just use a sample path. In the next episode, we're going to fetch all the paths from the API. But in this episode, we're just going to use a path that's already, I'll have this path in the description. It's just a sample movie. I think it's for Mad Max. And we're just going to populate the string array with this one sample path for now. Later this will be multiple paths. Alright, everything looks good. Now let's populate our image adapter class, or create it. So new Java class. It's going to extend base adapter. Let's implement these methods. And let's create the constructor for our custom image adapter. So what were the three constructors we used before? Of course we need the context. Then we're passing in the array list of the paths, which we got from here. From the getPathsFromAPI method. And then we have just int x, which is the width of each poster that we want to use. Here in getCount, we're going to return the size of the array. We're not going to worry about these two, but the one we're really worried about is getView. So how this adapter works is, for each element of the adapter, or each element of the array in the adapter, it will call getView once with a different position. So it'll call getView with position 1, then it'll call getView with position being 2. So what do you want to return for each call to getView? Or not what you want to return. Well, yeah, what you want to return basically. But what do you want to do? So every time getView is called with a different position, we want to populate that position of the adapter with a poster. So first, we want to create the placeholder poster in case it takes time to load. This poster will show up instead of the real poster. We'll create the resize drawable method down here. So we're just getting this drawable, the placeholder we downloaded at the beginning. Right here, loading movie. And we would just want to resize it to the right size. Now we're going to use Picasso to load the image with the path we got into the image view. This is the base URL. W185 is the size. This size works well. Plus, remember the string array we passed into the constructor? That's the path of the poster. So we're adding the base URL plus the path of the poster. Then we're going to resize that image. We want the x to be the width, and if you look at the image, the proportion of the width to the length is 1 to 1.5. So we'll just make the length 1.5. Cast that to an int so it works. And then we're going to add the placeholder, just as drawable. So in case the image doesn't load, it shows this placeholder. And we're going to put all of that into the image view. Okay, so to make Picasso work, you have to go to build and rebuild project so you can sync Gradle with the app, with the Java files, so that Picasso will show up. And then it'll give you an option to import squareup.picasso. Then we're just going to return the image view. Alright, so should everything work if we ran this right now? Let's see what happens in the image load task. An ArrayList is passed into the image load task. Or no, is returned from the image load task. You get the paths from the API. It will return 15 of this same exact path. We'll make posters. Then it'll populate the ArrayList posters with all the posters and return posters. But what's being done with this? Where does this go? How is this populating the image view or the image adapter? And that's where we override the onPost execute. This is the execute method, the do in background. And after this is executed, we want to do something with the results, which is the poster. Right now, if you ran this, nothing would happen because we're not doing anything with the results, which is the 15 posters we get here. We always check if the context is null before instantiating a new image adapter. So we create our new image adapter, and now we're going to populate the grid view with our new image adapter. Because look, where we populated the grid view earlier, this was just an empty string array. Nothing is added to this. We're just putting a placeholder adapter in the grid view. Nothing's here, nothing's happening here. Meanwhile, this poster's array list has paths in it. The one above does not. So let's check if our layout is correct. There should be 15 identical posters in our grid view. And in the next episode, I'll show you how to get different paths for different movies, so they won't be identical posters. And we can get these movies based on the most popular ones, or the highest rated ones. There are a bunch of different ways you can fetch these movies. So, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like the video and subscribe. Hopefully this works. It should actually say you're not connected to the internet. Yeah, it does, because the device just started up, so it's not connected to the internet. So that part works. And it should be fetching the data right now. In the next episode, we're going to parse a JSON object from the internet that has all the data for all the different paths. And you don't really need to know any JSON. You don't even need to know what JSON is to do this. No, this is wrong. What's going on? Oh, I opened up the actual app, not the tutorial app. Okay, let's open up the tutorial app. There we go. Perfect. 15 Mad Maxes. Alright, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.